We all have questions.
What is it that hinders me, stopping me from getting to where I want to go?
Find the answers on the Dani Johnson Show.
You can't reach for anything if your hands are still full of yesterday's junk.
Keep moving forward with Dani Johnson.
So that you can get to the destiny that you're after. There is another way to live, my friend. There is.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We are so blessed that you decided to join us for today. And we're going to talk about, well, for some people, it's a favorite subject, and for others, it's a very negative subject. And I don't know where you fit in on this, but I have lived I've lived all parts of this. Greed. It's a matter of the heart, friend. It has nothing to do with money. But you see, we've been painted a picture of what greed looks like. And I remember being greedy, but not even knowing it. Seriously, I didn't even know it. I used to say to people that I could walk away from my lifestyle tomorrow and it would mean nothing because I was a former homeless woman. I know what it's like to live simple, and I know what it's like to live without anything. Yeah, and then in the year 2000, March 17th, in fact, of 2000, I was asked to do that, to walk away from my lifestyle, to walk away from the money. Yes, I heard a voice asking me, who is this all for, and to sell my things and follow him, whom I thought I was already following. But I really wasn't following in the way that I should have been following. Yes, we were given to our church, and yes, we were making a lot of money, and man, the more money we made, the more that we spent. But I want to explore this with you today, because if greed has affected your life, meaning the greed of others has negatively affected you, we want to hear about it. And here's why. It's not to talk about those greedy mongrels, but it's to hear the effects that greed has on the others that are around the greedy mongrel. Because people who are greedy typically don't know that they are. They're blinded by it. I was blinded by greed. I mean, blind, my friend. Blind. Blind, okay? I don't know there's any other way to say blind, but I mean, I was deaf in my ears, and I was blinded in my eyes, and my heart was hard concerning greed. So it's possible that you might have somebody in your life that also is blinded by greed, or that someone might be you. I know you're thinking, no, Dani, I'm a giver. I was a giver too, still am a giver to this day. But none of us are immune to a culture that we live in that I think we both would agree is greedy. We live in a very greedy culture. So let's kind of explore this a little bit, right? Because we don't want greed being passed down to the next generation now, do we? No. And you right now might be thinking, well, Dani, I don't have a next generation. I don't have any kids, so it doesn't really matter to me. Oh, friend, you have influence over kids. And we are a people that represent a nation. We represent a family. We represent towns, businesses. We all have influence, and we are all a part of each other's life in one way, shape, or form, whether we like it or not. Our lives are truly not our own. But we have people that we have influence over. Even if you think you're just a quiet, shy person, you have influence over people. And by the way, if you're quiet and shy and you think that you're not greedy because you're quiet and shy, oh, be careful. If you actually are defending your position right now, there's a good shot that you might have some greed issues. But really, let's just explore what's the effects of greed in our lives. I definitely want to share with you some in-depth, yucky stuff that was inside of me to help maybe you not have it, or to make sure that if there's somebody else around you, you can share the show with them. You can say, oh my gosh, you should listen to Dani. Don't say it's about greed. But, oh, you need to listen to this show. It's a really powerful show about money. Okay, so you could spread the news to somebody else, or you could take a good look in the mirror yourself. Anyway, so check it out. What is your definition of greed? And who is greedy? Who is greedy even around you? You probably have an idea that it's those Wall Streeters up there, right? They pay themselves millions of dollars in bonuses while other companies are totally going bankrupt. They could care less about helping those guys while they made millions of dollars off of somebody else going bankrupt. But what if I told you, and check out the statistic, that 80% of the world, according to Global Issues, lives on $10 or less a day? They live on $10 a day. That's 80% of the world. Now, in comparison, the middle-class Americans live on $59 a day. $59 a day, where 80% of the world lives on $10 a day. So here's something else that's interesting. In recent years, 41% of Americans have cut back on donating to charitable organizations and nonprofits. 34% have stopped giving altogether. So usually an antidote to greed is giving. But there are many givers who still are greedy. So you can't put your crutch on, oh, I'm a giver, so therefore I'm not greedy. No, greed is a sneaky little sucker. It really is. It is so sneaky, and it is very, very blinding. And do you know, friend, you and I both have blind spots that we're not even aware of. I know I have blind spots. I do. Recently, I had one of them exposed to me. You know, when you get the testimony of several people saying the same thing and you see yourself in a completely different way, well, then you kind of have to start going, hey, hold on a second here. This is something I probably need to work on. So we all have blind spots. And today, I'm hoping that through the testimony of the impact that greed has had on other people's lives and the impact, meaning personally someone that was greedy, that is no longer, or that someone that lived with somebody that was greedy or had been affected negatively by someone who's greedy, we're going to help save each other from making some really expensive mistakes, as well as some really horrible, harsh, emotional mistakes. So here's the phone number. If you got the courage to share your story, how greed has affected your life, whether it's personally or it's been indirectly, directly or indirectly, 844-200-3264. And how did greed look like in your life? How was it played out, or how was it played out by the other person? 844-200-3264, because we really have a wrong picture. We see ourselves as not greedy, but boy, we can certainly point up to those big corporate people and say they're greedy. We can certainly look at the big house on the hill and call those people greedy. We can certainly look at those millionaires and say, oh, all of them are greedy. But the fact is that we could be blinded to our own decimal points and our own zeros that are in our, where the zeros are and where exactly they are in terms of where the decimal point is. You see, I used to spend a crazy amount of money on clothes and eating out and partying. I did $25,000 a month. You're like, oh my gosh, Dani Johnson, you could have fed so many people. I mean, there's so many hurting people out there. Seriously, how could you do such a thing? You're a terrible person. I was a terrible person. And I did give a lot to my church. However, I spent a lot. And I didn't know that that was a sign of greed. Now, right now, you're probably thinking, I would never do something like that. I don't do anything like that. You actually do. I just had more money. That's the difference. Is that percentage-wise, you see, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was spending all I was making. And you might be doing the same thing. So spending all that you make is a sign of greed. Let me read you a couple of these quotes. They're really, really powerful. One of them is, the man who has won millions at the cost of his conscience is a failure. That's by B.C. Forbes. Here's another one by Eric Fromm. Greed is a bottomless pit which exhausts the person in an endless effort to satisfy the need without ever reaching satisfaction. You see, never being satisfied is a sign of greed. Never being satisfied with how much you make, never reaching a place of contentment is a sign of greed. It's a side effect of greed. It is. That was us. No matter how much we made, we were never satisfied. Never. And we hid behind the veil of we're givers, we're tithers. We're not stingy. We help other people. But the fact was, we were never satisfied with how much we made. It's kind of like the same satisfaction with food. Some people are never satisfied with how much they eat. They're just never satisfied. They eat, they turn around, they got to eat again. It is like something within them that is driving them to that word that starts with an M. More. More, 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 more. So let's explore this. 844-200-3264 is the number. Again, that's 844-200-3264. You don't want greed to strangle out your life, to strangle out your vision and your dreams. You don't want greed to strangle out your family. You don't want greed to rob your bank accounts, because it will rob your bank accounts. It likes to steal, kill, and destroy. And according to the best success book ever written, greed is idolatry. Yes, it's one of those graven images that have been created that people bow down to and make sacrifices to. We see that all over the place. And so here we can see ourselves as giving people and, oh, I take care of charity, so therefore I don't have this problem. But see, we've become a society that calls luxuries normal living. We do. Remember when we wouldn't spend $20 a month on a cell phone bill? Not a cell phone bill, a phone bill. Remember when the phone was attached actually to a wall? Oh, wait, and then they came up with these ones that were wireless, right? You know, gosh, I can't remember the name that we used to call them, but I have one in my house right now. Anyway, so it's, you know, it's a portable phone, but it wasn't a mobile phone. But remember when it was connected to a wall, and that was the only way we could talk to somebody, and meaning on the phone-wise? So if someone needed to get a hold of us, they called us at the house, or if we had an office, they could call us at work. But the fact is that we never would spend more than $20 a month on a phone bill. But today people spend $200 a month on a phone bill, and they're buying more storage. So they're actually adding $20 a year or $50 a year so they can get more storage on top of their storage that they already have inside of their phone. So they buy the cloud or whatever extra storage it is that they have, or they spent $200 or $600 on a phone, but the battery doesn't last long enough, so I'm going to buy that Moji thing so that I can have this extended thing to get another battery to charge my battery when I've, burned it out in the first 2 hours. Okay, and then of course we need the charger that doesn't have to be plugged into a wall, right? So we have this external extra battery charger that plugs into the Moji that is in our phone. Do you understand what I'm saying? More, more, more. That's what we become a culture of more. But again, I want to hear your story. How has greed affected you? What impact has it had on your life? It takes a lot of courage to be able to be open with this and to share this kind of a story. But it's important because it's going to help our next generation, and it's going to help you and I stay away from one of the biggest traps that are out there, greed. This is Dani Johnson. I look forward to taking your call right after this.
The Dani Johnson Show, helping hundreds of thousands of people just like you make life more enjoyable and rewarding.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Now, more of the Dani Johnson Show.
I was totally blind and I didn't know it. I was deaf and I didn't know it. You're probably saying, what are you talking about, Dani? That's impossible. You're not deaf and blind now. Oh, I'm pretty sure I've got some places where I'm deaf and blind in now too. Yeah, and the place where I was deaf and blind and stupid was in the place of money. You know, no matter how much I made, I wasn't happy. No matter how many things I bought, I still wasn't satisfied. No matter how many times I went out to dinner, I wasn't satisfied. No matter how many gifts I bought other people, I wasn't satisfied. No matter how many homes we bought, I was never satisfied. No matter how many cars I bought, I was never satisfied. No matter how many pairs of shoes, and I had 150 of them, I still wasn't satisfied. No matter how many $5,000 suits I had, I still wasn't satisfied. I had this terrible disease, worse than a heart attack, worse than cancer, and it was called greed. What about you? Was I just describing you? If I am, call me. You get the courage to call me right now. Let's talk about this. 844-200-3264. The greed that had deceived me almost took my life at 24 with a heart attack, and at 25, a nervous breakdown. Almost resulted in a divorce, not once, but several times. Greed. When you're constantly chasing something that runs faster than you, and no matter if you get to touch it or not, but you're still not happy, you're still not satisfied, it's still empty, this is all a poverty mentality that is laced with greed. So how has greed affected your life? Or what's your comments so far that we're talking about this very important issue, friend, because it has plagued our nation, and it's plagued Europe, and it's plagued Canada, and it's plagued Australia. It's plagued Mexico, man. It has plagued even India. As India's economy has changed, wow, people right away, more. The ones that live paycheck to paycheck when they had not much of a paycheck, then all of a sudden double that paycheck, they're still living paycheck to paycheck, which is a sign of greed. Debt, by the way, is also a sign of greed. All right, so we got Lori from California. Lori, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Good afternoon. My story about greed started about 7 years ago upon the death of my grandmother and the estate settlement. My uncle decided that he was going to sue me over the estate, and his greed took over, and he decided that I had stolen money and sued me for elder abuse for the care of my grandmother for 10 years.
Wow.
The fight of doing that, the stress is immeasurable.
Yep.
I've been nearly bankrupted just trying to defend myself with paying the attorney's fees. But the end result of his greed and my stress was that I ended up with cancer. I was in the hospital for 4 months last summer. I nearly died, and God's not done with me, but I've been through 55 radiation treatments, 25 oral chemo doses, and I'm on just finished number 8 of 12.
Wow.
But his greed is not going to break me because it's his and not mine.
Amen. Amen. Lori, look at that stress. So let me ask you a question. First of all, I'm so sorry that you've battled with cancer. And by the way, I'm also so proud of you that you are alive and that you're talking about this and that you got the courage to share with us this terrible, awful story. And you know what? That is a place where I see greed rise up like crazy. Isn't it nuts that when people die, we're talking like within hours, family begin to fight over stuff, the stuff that a dead person accumulated throughout their life. That seems to be the place where we see that greed just come out of the woodworks, and it's shocking to see that people are fighting instead of mourning over the dead, instead of grieving over the dead. Right away, it's who gets what. That's disgusting.
Yeah, and there was no care of my grandparents when they were alive. All he cared about was the money once they were gone.
Man. Okay, so let me ask you a question. And just think about this and don't answer it quickly. Answer it slowly. If you had to do it all over again, would you have not tried to get anything?
You know, I don't think I would do things much differently. I think I would have handled my stress a little differently, only because I know what my grandparents wanted me to have. I did here a few months ago made a huge change because I let go that fight. And I said, you know what?
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it anymore.
It's not. I'm so proud of you, Lori.
I said, either buy me out or we'll sell the place.
Yeah.
And it kind of set him back on his heels. And I said, I'll build a new house.
Yeah.
I'm done with the stress.
My life it's not worth it. It is absolutely, clearly 100% not worth it to fight over money. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
How can you achieve your goals and change your life for the better?
Tune in, turn it up, listen.
Stay right where you are for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel. You know what? People have died and killed over money. They've killed somebody else over money. Families have been ripped up over the fight of money, especially after a death. It always shocks me. You know, I remember the man that raised me, he died a couple of years ago. In fact, I was right on the air when my sister was like blowing up my phone. And finally on a break, I had gone over to it and I answered it, and she'd called me to tell me that our dad had died. And I was really blown away to see all of the greed. My dad had nothing. He died in a Motel 6. With his drugs next to his table. And this is the man that raised me, the man that I called Dad. I met my biological father when I was 18, and he and I have an awesome relationship today. And it's been going on for about 27 years. But anyway, I was really floored. I was also floored by the accusations that came against me by my family. Some of my family that said, you know, oh, you don't trust her. You know, she's going to go after Dan's paintings. And, you know, she's going to go after everything he got. You know, she's really smart. She's a business person. You got to watch out for her. She's going to try to take everything Dan had. He had a couple pounds of pot. I don't smoke that stuff. But it was crazy. And so what I did is I flew my sister down to California, and I paid for the burial of the man that molested me, the man that violently abused me, the man that verbally abused me, physically, emotionally. I paid for the burial for the man because who else was going to take care of it? Nobody. So I paid for the burial. I took absolutely nothing besides his prison card. He went to prison because he set the family home on fire because of greed. Because of greed. He wasn't getting the amount that he wanted in the settlement against the divorce of my mother, so he burnt the house down. So the only thing I took was a picture, the last picture that I remember him as he was heading off to prison. And so that was it. Everything else I gave to his, well, they were in the middle of the divorce. Why? I didn't ask for a thing. And I represented my sister and said, can she just have my dad's old PT Cruiser? That'd be awesome. And I negotiated that for my sister, that she could at least have a car because she was carless and has no money and whatever. But it is always amazing the kind of greed that comes out. And right away after somebody dies, they're not dead for a couple of hours. And people are already thinking, what's in the bank accounts? Where's the storage unit? What's going to happen to the cars? What's going to happen to the... Really? I'm sorry to say, but I've been in several death situations. The death of my uncle ripped up my mom and her sister. I've seen greed more times than not. I think I've only actually been a part of one. Actually, I can only say one. I've been a part of a lot of deaths. One where there was not fighting over somebody's stuff. Just one. I've been to a lot of funerals. I've had a lot of family members die. Typically, everybody wants their stuff. It's sad to me. Okay, so greed, how has it affected your life? We want to hear your story, whether it was indirectly, you had somebody in your life that was crippled by greed, or you were crippled by greed. We want to hear the story, and why? Because we need to hear the truth about it, and we need to hear the price that people have paid for it. And as we hear this, we got to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, is that me? Because if that's me, I don't want that person to be me, and I got to change. Mike from Kansas, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
I'm a teacher, and I don't have a problem speaking to individuals or in front of a group, but I'm having trouble trying to come up with startup capital for a home business or something, just trying to make ends meet. We're a single-income family right now. Any suggestions?
Okay, I'm so sorry. We were talking about greed. I wasn't talking about that stuff. But let me just go there real quick. There's always places to get loans. And what I would do is I'd make a long list of people that you know that you can work a personal loan with. There's banks that give loans for businesses. There's lines of credit that you can get. There's all kinds of places to get money. And I would be looking to negotiate with some people and some terms. The kind of business that you're trying to get yourself into isn't a lot of money. That's a real low entry level for business and for investment into business. So I'd be saying something like, I'll pay you back in 60 days, and this is the interest that I'll pay you. So I'd be looking for a co-business investor would be my suggestion, Mike. So the best to you, by the way, and I'm proud of you for looking for a way to increase the income in the home. And by the way, when you do increase the income over the home, don't spend what you're making. Put it aside. Learn to invest that money into other things. Also pay off debt. Obviously, the first one that you need to pay off the debt is the business loan. And don't look for a long-term business loan. Look for a short-term business loan, which means you got to get busy and make money in that business right away. So anyway, watch out for greed. You can make a lot of money without being greedy. Just make sure that you don't spend what you make. Let that be extra money with that business that you're starting. Thanks so much for the call, and thanks for being a listener on the Dani Johnson Show. Okay, we're going up to Rosa from California. Rosa, what's your thoughts on this topic of greed? How has it affected you?
It's affected me because at this point right now I'm going through trying to sell a property that I purchased with a co-buyer, and now we're in this civil dispute on who's getting what, but I'm just so over it. It's been a year already that we've been going through this, and I have lawyer fees of $30,000, and she's going to get all the profit. So this is a hole where the stress comes in. Yeah. I've had Bell palsy in the past because of all this. I don't know how to deal with it.
Wow. And so $30,000, I mean, how much was there to gain from the fight to begin with?
$150,000.
Wow. And is it
when she sells property, she's gaining.
Yep. What have you learned, Rosa, from this situation?
Never to do it again.
Yep. Tell me why.
Never to. Because as much as you want to help families out, and you're here to help them out, or advice or whatnot, but I've learned that even helping out friends, family, it's not a good thing because something always goes wrong.
Especially with family, right? And when it comes to family, and if somebody wants to borrow money, don't ever lend money. Just give it to them. Just give it to them.
Right.
I've got this little rule for me personally whenever, because we get hit up a lot, right, Rosa?
Yes.
We get hit up a lot. And we're talking about people that never talk to us, people that don't have a relationship with us, people that have never sent a Christmas card or a birthday card or any kind of a card. And when we do give them the money, they don't even send a thank you card. Which is amazing. But anyway, we get hit up a lot by everybody you could ever imagine. Even old high school mates have hit us up. But when I have this conversation with somebody that's coming for me, like wanting to borrow money, I say everyone in the family gets one shot. Just one. That's it, just one. So you might want to make sure that this is the most important time that you would ever need it, because you will never have the opportunity again. And no, I will not lend it to you, but you can have it. I have no expectations of you ever paying me back. But there's only one shot. Make sure this is the shot you want it to count. So yeah,
What the hell?
The family's tough. The family is tough, and wherever there is money with family, it often can get really, really nasty, and people fight over money, and it's not worth losing the relationship. So I'm happy that you had the humility, Rosa, to share your experience and to say it's not worth it, because I can bet right now that there's somebody listening, Rosa, that is going through the same thing you're going through right now, and they don't know.
How is it to deal with this?
You have to let go. You just have to wash your hands.
Settled. It had.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to wash your hands and say this: I learned a $30,000 lesson. That's what you learned. You learned a $30,000 lesson on top of all the whole year of stress, on top of now the wedge between the family member. So what's the real cost? What's the cost that you can put on stress? You can't. There's no cost. So you have no other option but then to let go, to forgive, to bless, to look in the mirror and say, where did I mess up? What did I learn? How do I move forward? And that's all you can do. It's the best thing you can do. Therefore, you're going to come out ahead. If she stole, She cheated. She lied to get this gain. Rosa, guess what? What goes around comes around, honey. You got nothing to worry about. The vengeance is the Lord's. And if there was injustice in this place, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You just wait, honey. You'll watch. Through time, everything always gets corrected. Always gets corrected. So count it as a blessing. It only cost you $30,000 a year of your life. And what is going on inside of your heart, that's up to you. Forgive her, bless her, pray blessing over her, release her, wash your hands of it. That was a $30,000 lesson. It could have been a whole lot more. And move on. Move on, move on, move on. That's the best thing you can do. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you tremendously. So thanks for sharing also, because somebody else just got helped. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to continue in just a moment. We've got 4 lines that are lit up right now with more really powerful stories concerning greed and how it affects us and what should we do about it. And yeah, because it's true. People fight over money. And you have to decide, is it worth the fight? Is it worth the stress? Is it worth the wedge? Is it worth losing sleep? Nope, it's not. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue right after this.
Don't just stand there. Soak this up. It's joy, it's encouragement, it's insight to a better life and how to meet your obligations and overcome obstacles. The Dani Johnson Show. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Call now, 888-757-8880. I'm going to send you our report on how to feed your family on $100 a week. Get this hot thing in your hand now and you can begin to save hundreds of dollars just on your food bill. No clipping coupons, no way. I'm talking about simple little things that still, even my position, I'm still able to feed my family on $100 a week or less. You are going to learn how to do the same thing. 888-757-8880. Call now. Get your copy of this report.
Helping you get a grip on your priorities and your focus. The Dani Johnson Show. Here's Dani Johnson.
If you're obsessing over money, status, fame, recognition, or anything, obsessing over your business, obsessing over food, obsessing over shopping or getting good deals, or obsessing over the fact that somebody has hurt you, somebody that has lied, cheated, and stolen from you, you're on a road to destruction. Get off that road and get off of it right now. This is Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us. We're talking about the powerful impact that greed affects, how it affects our life. I was once blinded to the fact that I was a greedy mongrel. I had no idea. And I used to chalk it up that, hey, I'm a big giver. I'm a big giver. So, because I'm a big giver, I'm not greedy. I was totally lassoed up by greed, and I was completely deceived by greed, and I didn't even realize until I was told to sell my things and follow him. What? You want me to sell my 6,000 square foot house? Really? We just bought it. You want me to sell our cars and 7 couches? We just bought them. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, friend. I was a wicked woman. I probably am still in a lot of places. But that's what we're talking about today. All these different stories of greed and how it's affected our lives so that you and I, can learn from the lessons of each other, move on. And you might be in a place right now that you're in a fight about greed right now. And you might get some really helpful advice on what to do about that. Anyway, we got Luli from Los Angeles. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Lily, and I was calling regarding the Facebook comment about greed, and that really hit home, and it really made me see that without knowing it, about 7 years ago, I was going through that greed, and I didn't realize it because I was going through a lot of hurt as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, 7 years down the road, or in my present moment, I find myself feeling a lot of shame, totally suffocated by greed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by pain, I'm sorry. The greed is suffocating me, I'm feeling caged. That bondage you always talk about. And my whole point in my life is to make it right with my family.
Yeah.
I think it started about 16 years ago. My husband we went through some infidelity in our marriage, and you know, he always it produced a son from his end, and I loved my husband, and we had 3 children at the time, and you know, we just kept working at it, or you know, kind of just going through it, and finally, you know, my husband was able to come into some money. He got a really good job. He was making good money, and he was just buying me whatever I wanted because he felt guilty, and he wanted me to have everything.
Right.
And so I all of a sudden we came up with a business opportunity, and it required a lot of money. It was a lot of money. We're talking about almost $500,000.
Wow.
And you know, my family, they invested. It was a good business opportunity. I mean, and my family believed in my husband and I, that we knew what we were doing. And all of a sudden, you know, it just I think if we made $1, I would spend 2. And I just wanted the best for my kids, and I was, again, like I said, I didn't know that I was being greedy at the time. I just felt like, you know what, I'm in too much pain because of the infidelity, because of what you did to me, and now we have to deal with another child.
Wow.
And my husband would just buy me whatever I wanted and would always say yes to me, and I took advantage of that without knowing it.
Yes.
And that's what got us into trouble, because my husband was so afraid of, quote unquote, losing me because he wouldn't get me what I wanted, and he felt that was what, you know, that he could hang on to me, and I was just, you know, taking my kids to the best places, eating at the best restaurants, giving my kids the best, because that was how I would deal with my pain. Next thing you know, we come in 2009. My mom is dying of cancer. I'm running the business. It was a 7-day-a-week business.
Wow.
And I was just overwhelmed and stressed. We lost the business, and we lost the money. And, of course, we lost, and my husband didn't have a job. I mean, the business was our job.
Right.
So that was really hard for him to get another job. And I was a stay-at-home mom for many, many years. And so all of a sudden we find ourselves in zero. We lost our, you know, circular driveway home. We lost money that his parents invested, that my brother invested, that his sister invested, their friends invested. And, again, it was just really painful because I lost that trust. Because I was trying to find somehow to make it, but it was way too much money. We had no jobs. We were eating from the local 99-cent store because that's the kind of income we're getting.
Wow.
But, you know, through it all, God has never abandoned me, and I've always kept faith. However, I do lose my patience.
Yes.
Because it's just hard.
Yes.
It's hard. It's that bondage that, you know, I wanna make it right. I want to make it right with my family.
Yes.
And it just, so you know, my husband got a job, and so for the past 5 years, we've been paying about $1,900 a month.
Wow.
Back to about 3 people because they took out mortgages on their house.
Oh, wow.
But
Luli,
you know what?
Luli, I got to tell you something. I got to tell you something. First of all, I'm blown away at your ability to see the truth in that whole situation. And you're not blaming anybody, and you're owning your own stuff. And that says so much about your character, that you realized that you were taking advantage of your husband's desire to buy your love back, you know, out of his pain and his shame. He's trying to buy your love back and to secure his future with his wife, who he believes should leave. And you've fully took advantage of that situation with being bought everything and then turn around and buy that for the kids. It is so awesome that you could actually see that and that you're not in this blame place. The other thing that I admire about you is that you're paying back your family. Let me tell you something. You mentioned God, so I'm going to go here. Luli, there is no condemnation for those in Christ. As far as the east is from the west, he remembers your sin no more. If those people choose to remember your sin, remind you of your sin, that is between them and God. And they are operating under the spirit of the accuser of the brethren. You are doing the right thing. You've gone before your family asking them to forgive you. And the fact that you're making monthly installments to the tune of almost $2,000 a month to help pay them back shows good character. That is what is right. That is noble. That is pure. You're doing the right thing. So my sister, be free of guilt. Be free of shame. Forgive yourself and remind yourself daily that there is no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. There is no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus, and you are in Him. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
In a world of broken promises, we're here to help you through life. The Dani Johnson Show. No excuses, no blaming, just real life. Stay tuned for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Join us for a revolution in increasing your income, improving relationships.
You can make your marriage better. You can make your finances better. You can make your job better. You can make all of your relationships better by what you choose to focus on.
Expand your life experiences with God with a very spiritual equipping show from Dani Johnson.
Think on these things, that which is noble, good, pure, praiseworthy.
Here and now, The Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to Hour 2 of The Dani Johnson Show. We're so glad that you decided to join us today. Today has been a very challenging show, and I hope that it challenges you in the deepest places of your heart, your soul, your mind, because we've been talking about a subject that literally blinds us, deafens our ears, hardens our hearts, but takes us down a road of absolute nuclear waste, disaster. A bomb that goes off in your life because you don't even realize that you've been lassoed by greed. Greed does not have a dollar amount attached to it, and there's not a line that the greedy stand in that says, "Hi, I'm greedy." No, we see greed pop up its head every single day of our lives. We're tempted by it every day, everywhere we go. The television is constantly trying to draw you in to its theology of buy, more, and never, ever be satisfied. So we're taking your call. How has greed affected your life, whether it was directly of your own personal choices or by the choices of others, living with somebody or working with somebody that's been greedy, and what the cost has been to you. The cost of stress. We heard a story in the first hour of a woman losing $30,000 due to a greedy fight that ended up going for the other person instead of for her. She's just lost $30,000 and a whole lot of stress and a ripped up family. Another woman due to a death, a huge fight that resulted then in cancer and almost dying. Is it worth it to fight over money? I say not. 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. Greed, I'm telling you, is a great blinder. It's a great deceiver. I once was completely blinded to my own personal greed. Right now, just even talking about this, I'm doing a heart check myself. Like, I want to make sure that I'm not walking on that path that I once walked on without even knowing it, because it is a sneaky little devil. Not little, big devil. It's disgusting. Anyway, going over to the phones, I've got Christy calling in from Illinois. Christy, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hi, Christy. Are you muted? Sounds like you're muted. Okay, we got another Christy on line 6 from Alberta, Canada. Christy, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hello.
Hi.
My sister, who was my best friend, my hero, and, well, pretty much my everything, started her obsession and greed about 4 or 5 years ago with money, then weight loss and becoming fit, started a new career. From there, our amazing relationship was from talking daily, texting, spending countless hours together, just started dwindling away. She got into yoga, meditation, started seeing a healer, and now nor are our parents. According to her, we are bad, negative, and toxic people, and she is away from us. So with this, I'm extremely confused and pretty much would do anything to figure out what happened and to have her back in life.
Right. Well, Christy, that's hard. That's a hard one, to go from the best friend and close sister and talking every day to not hearing from her very often. Yeah. Well, I think the best thing to do here, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but this is just one way to look at it and one thing you can pull away from it. There's always different sides to every story, and there's always different perspectives. And, the truth always lies somewhere in the middle, right? There's your story, there's her story, and then there's always the middle. There's her feelings, there's your feelings, there's your parents' feelings. And even though that you and your parents and probably everybody else agrees that it is her greed and that she's, lost herself in fitness and in health and all of this kind of stuff, you all are probably right. But at the same time, if you want to mend the relationship, you're going to have to see things from her side. It's the only way to mend it, is to see things from her point of view. And to look at yourselves and say, wow, she says that we're negative and toxic. Is there any truth to that? That's what you got to ask yourself. And the fact that she's saying it means there has to be some truth to it, because it's what she has perceived in the new relationship that you guys have. So, did you guys complain?
There is no relationship.
There you go.
Like, none. She won't talk to any of us. It's been almost a year.
So who has reached out to say, sorry, please forgive me for all the negativity, all the terrible things that I've said to you, all the things that have hurt you? I miss you. I love you. And I would do anything to start over again.
I have, back in October, just last year. Everything seemed fine, and then just don't hear from her.
Right.
Just nothing.
Right. So basically you're hurt and wounded by the fact that she's not pursuing you.
Yes, I had told her, I said, you never call anymore, you never invite me to do anything. It just seems like, I'm just not part of your life anymore. And I said, you spend so much time with other people, and what happened to us? And
Christy,
said,
let me stop you right there. Right there is all negative, and that's all a complaint. None of that is the solution. And it's accusatory.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if I said to you, you never call me, you never do anything with me anymore, I feel like I am not a part of your life, and everybody else is more important than your family. Automatically, that causes someone to go on the defense, especially somebody who, let's say, is obsessing over her body, obsessing over her health, and obsessing over money, okay? So if someone's obsessing over that, the quickest way to push them away from you is to criticize them. That's the quickest way to make them run away from you. So how about this? I miss you. Let's go to lunch. And then make sure that lunch is positive. And then, hey, let's go swimming like we used to. It'll be fun, and make sure you keep it positive. Quit trying to coach her. Quit trying to tell her what to do. Quit trying to point out that other people are more important than the family. Quit trying to remind her of her failures and her mistakes. The reason why she doesn't want to be with you is because you're pointing out all her failures and all her faults and her mistakes. And the people that she's with now are nice to her, in her mind, from her perspective.
So how do you deal with it when she's doing it to you while she's going through this change of life? Or she's trying to change you to follow her?
You love her. If you value her, you love her. And you say, thanks so much for your input. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your passion for what you're doing. And I'm stoked that you believe in it so much. And at this time, I still kind of want to just keep going the same direction. Anyway, why don't you, hey, let's go to a movie. Let's go just direct the conversation in things that are positive versus arguing with her or pointing out what she's doing to you or trying to change her because she's trying to change you or vice versa. This only creates a bigger toxic mess. You're not going to change your sister. But what you can do is get interested in what interests her. What you can do is love her.
Can you do that after?
Yes, you can. Christy, you have complete...
You can do that even if you haven't spoke in a long time?
Sure. Call her. Call her. I was thinking about you today. I was thinking about how much I love you and how awesome you are and how proud I am that you are so focused on the things that you're doing. Because it really is a pretty awesome thing if you think about it. If you weren't hurt, you'd be probably pretty proud of this girl that she's that focused and determined to make sure that she's keeping her body healthy and meditating and whatever else it is she's doing, that she's focused on improving her life. So if you take the hurt out of the situation and you forgive yourself and you forgive her and you just accept her that this is where she's at in this season of her life. Well, let me just put it this way. I don't know if you know Jesus or not, but I know that I have been okay. Love her the way you love him, number one, and love her the way he loves you. Makes sense? Could he say the same?
Absolutely.
Could he say, you don't spend much time with me anymore? How come you spend time with so many other people?
No.
How come you like to be with all those other people more than you like to be with me? I think he could say that to me.
Yeah.
Yes, you know he could say that about you. But he loves you anyway. So that's, if we are in Christ, and if you feel like your sister is kind of veering in the other direction, please don't be a religious judge. Please love her the way Jesus loves her. That's the best way to mend this relationship. You take the high road, sister, and you're going to show her the love that Christ has extended to you and to me with all of his mercy and all of his grace whenever we get on our stinking high horse and think that somebody else needs to change. That's the best thing that you can do. So I appreciate you, girl, man. And I know you were trying to wrestle with this one. But if you want the relationship to get better, it's not going to get better overnight. It is seriously love, 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 love. And if she is in greed, that's between her and God. But if you judge her greed or you judge her life, now that is an issue God now has with you. Judge not, lest you become what you judge. You don't want to do that. So you want to love, 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 love. Trust me, we all battle with this thing called judgment. I hate it. Anyway, I'm getting convicted right now. All right, Christy, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, we got another Christy from Illinois. Christy, did you unmute your line? Hello, Christy?
I sure did.
Yay.
I've actually had a history with greed, and I didn't realize that that's what it was at the time. In my late teens, I actually was really interested in investing in real estate, bought my very first home, and from there bought another home, a bigger home. And then I've been doing hair for 20 years. About 10 years into it, decided, I'm going to go on my own, start renting a place. Well, I was renting a place that was about $1,200 a month. I was like, I could buy a house for that much money. I'm making tons of money, hand over fist, doing extensions and high-end services.
Nice.
And this is going to go on forever. So I bought another house, and it wasn't too long after that things started kind of tumbling, and I had a lot of my clients losing their jobs and things like that. So it's been a rough ride since. I'm on the other side now, but it ended up taking me through bankruptcy and now losing that second house, which was the end result, I guess.
Yes. Christy, man, I'm really proud of you that you've got the humility as well as the sober mind to be able to say, yep, I was greedy and I didn't know it. And a bankruptcy is humbling, isn't it? Painful. Yeah. Stressful.
Yeah, I was getting sued.
It's humiliating.
It's like my only way out.
Yep. Yeah. And one of the signs of greed, which is one of the things that you mentioned, as soon as we continue right back from this break, I'm going to give you one of the biggest signs of greed that's in many of us. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue right after this.
Stay right where you are for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
Now, more of the Dani Johnson Show.
Do you think that the money you're making right now is going to last forever? That is a sign of greed. Oh, yes. Spending like it's going to be around forever. Yep, that is exactly the voice of greed. Oh, we're going to be fine. So you make a buck, you spend two. Think everything's great, and there's no way that on the horizon that something can turn, that somehow, a hurricane can come in. The bottom line is the tides change every single day, friend. And money does not last forever. It doesn't. And I know you don't want to believe that. You don't want to hear that at all, because right now you might be in a really good financial position and things are going awesome. You just bought your second house. You're doing so good, man. Things are great. You're making money hand over fist. Acting like it's always going to be there. That is a sign of poverty thinking, and poverty thinking will lead you into a greedy place of destruction. Just as what we just heard from Christy suffered through a bankruptcy, as she admits herself that was due to greed. Now, Christy, I want you and I to really paint this picture of the bankruptcy. Because here you're making money, you have your own salon, you're like, shoot, man, I'm making money hand over fist, I'm going to buy my second house. You lost the second house. Talk to me about the pain of the bankruptcy.
I think that by the time I got there, I was kind of through the really horrible parts. I was depressed. I just remember sobbing like a baby in my family's arms, and, my parents ended up forking over thousands of dollars of theirs, to try to save me. They actually saved me once, and I don't have their approval now to be letting the one home go, because it's, and it's actually not even completely foreclosed on yet, but
wow.
I still get grief from them about it, because, they've put money into it, and I'm like, how much more money are we going to keep dumping into it, and how much more pain are we going to go through?
Yep.
Let's end this chapter and move on and do things the right way, save money.
Yes.
And that kind of thing.
So let me ask you this. So when you said, obviously you were young, you had this business, you're in the hair business, everyone is doing great. The economy does what it does. People lose their jobs. They're no longer going to spend $250 on their hair. And you obviously, $4,000 on their hair.
I was doing extensions, so it was $100 an hour is what I was making. I'd have weeks that my hands would be cramped up in pain, but I didn't care because I was making $8,000 a month doing hair.
Wow. So look at that. You'll put up with pain just for the cash. And then again, that is a sign of greed right there. That is greed. That's what it looks like and what it sounds like. So let me ask you this. When you started to crumble financially, did you notice that when that depression set in, that the voices of you're a failure, you're never going to make it, slip into your head?
Yeah. And, why did you let yourself get to this? And, you're better than this. You're, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Well, I'm happy you're on the other side of it, and I'm so happy that you're sharing this because somebody might be getting saved from making the same kind of choices. Girl, I've been in your shoes. I understand. I got to a place where I wanted to end my life. I was buried under so much debt. I had IRS debt. They were levying my bank accounts. I had so much humiliation and embarrassment. It was awful. And I just wished I had never been born. That's where my greed took me initially in my early 20s, to just a place of, I'm done. I just don't want to do this anymore. It's not worth it. So, Christy, thanks so much for sharing, because I know that somebody really got helped today, just with your testimony. And we may never meet that person. They might be driving down the road right now listening to what you just said, and they saw themselves when they heard your voice describe what you had lived through. But you're on the other side now, girl, and you've learned a lot, a very valuable lesson, and that is make money, keep it, learn to invest it, don't spend it. Be wise with the money and accumulate, increase a little bit out of a time, and that's how you can become wealthy and financially independent. It's never by making lots of money and spending lots of money. That is not how you become wealthy or financially independent. Wealth is not what you show or what you spend. It's what you keep. Yes, and how you make that grow. Yes. By the way, we've done a show on that before, and there would be in the archives on the website, DaniJohnson.com. You can go and listen to it from the app or stream live right there on the website. Again, that's DaniJohnson.com. Also, while you're there, get your free copy of this book, First Steps to Wealth, where I teach you how to get out of debt, how I started a business from the trunk of my car in a payphone booth, became a millionaire many times, and spent it, lost it, learned a valuable lesson, and have learned to create wealth. So that's all in this book, First Steps to Wealth. You can get your free copy, an ebook of this book right there on the website as well. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
What you see is what you get. What you hear is real. This is not a test. It's real life and how to deal with what comes at you every day.
Yeah.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson, and the most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Improving the quality of your life. The Dani Johnson Show.
I love it.
Greed is not defined by how much is in your bank account, because there are people who have no money that are greedy. No joke. The reason why they don't have any money is because they're spending it all. Every dime that they make, they're spending all of it, which is a sign of greed as well as a poverty mentality. You don't want to be that person. You really don't. And man, I'm telling you, we've heard some really powerful stories today on this show. You know what I love about you? I love that you are transparent, that you're honest, and that you're willing. You're willing to share your junk right here on the Dani Johnson Show and with no ego. Just, you know what? This is where I messed up. And I love that about you. What other kind of shows and the relationship between us and you, who is a faithful watcher or listener to the Dani Johnson Show, that is that way, that, hey, I'm tired of hiding. I'm coming out of the closet. Yes, I'm greedy. How do I fix it? I love that. I absolutely love that. So we've been hearing stories, and we're going to continue to hear stories about how greed has affected your life. Whether it's been indirectly, a loved one who is greedy and what it caused them to go do and the pain that it's brought on the family, or the pain that you personally brought on the family because of your own greed and issues like that. Listen, I'm certainly not coming from a self-righteous place. I've shared my stories countless times right on here and all the places where I have so messed up financially and relationships have been torn up because of it. And yeah, have learned the hard way, unfortunately. Almost lost my life twice because of greed. Line 1, we've got Lynette from South Dakota. Lynette, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi.
Wow. It's great to talk to you.
So what's your story about greed?
Well, and I don't know that what I'm dealing with is necessarily greed. It's just a very tough situation, and it's really taking its toll on me.
Yeah.
I come from a large ranch. My family's ranch has been in my family for 110 years.
Wow.
I've worked on it my entire life, and I absolutely love it. I'm constantly battling with my mom over things. She owns the ranch, and there's people that have come in and manipulated her.
Yep.
She's in a very tough situation, and she's basically given land to someone that's talked her into it.
Wow.
Given her hundreds of thousands of dollars, given this person literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I've been shoved out of the picture.
Yeah.
There's kind of more to it, but I'm at my wit's end. I'm praying for God's guidance in all of this.
Yeah.
And wanting to make the right decision. Like I said, there's a lot more going on than just that, but that's kind of the high points of things.
Right. So, Lynette, how come you don't just let your mom make her own decisions and her own financial mistakes?
Because this ranch has been in my family for a long time, and I feel that, and I'm the only heir to the ranch. This is my inheritance, and I've worked on this ranch my entire life. I don't know anything else.
Right.
I've poured my life into this ranch, and it's not just a few acres. It's
right.
very large, and it's been in my family for a long time, and I feel I would be dishonoring all the work that my grandfather put into it.
Right.
And I'm also trying to protect her.
Right.
Because there's people that are trying to take advantage of her.
Right. But Lynette, you telling your mom that, let's do this. Let's just have this fun little exercise is let's flip the table around. And you're the mom, and she's the daughter. And there are people taking advantage of you. And you are the heir of this huge ranch that's been in the family for 110 years. You're bearing the burden and the responsibility of making all the wise choices so it stays in the family for the next 110 years. Okay, that's you, your mom. And your mother is you. And she has worked the land her whole life. She doesn't know anything else. Actually, your mom is that person, isn't she? She grew
Both
up.
of us.
But how many more years has your mom been there?
Almost 30.
30 more years than you.
Yeah.
She grew up there. It was her daddy's. It's her daddy's legacy. She's got a bit more invested into it. So I want you to just imagine that you've been on the ranch for 50 or 60 years, right? And it was your daddy's.
Myself. Yeah.
And now your daughter is coming to you, telling you of the mistakes that you're making. And your daughter is coming to you.
It isn't just me.
I gotcha.
It isn't just me.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's our family's accountant.
I understand.
Our family's accountant, friends, attorneys, neighbors.
It's okay. So, Lynette, here's what I'm going to ask you. If you felt like everybody was against you, what would you do? Dig your heels in the ground and say, to hell with all y'all? Like she's doing?
And I'm trying to bite my tongue, and people are telling me
Oh,
to
hold on a
legal
second.
action.
You already said
That
it.
isn't going to solve anything.
You're trying to bite your tongue, which means you are not biting your tongue.
Yeah.
You are not biting your tongue. So if you really want a solution to this, the best thing to do is to put yourself in mom's shoes, okay? And realize that she's carrying a very heavy, big burden, and everybody is against her right now. And she's probably feeling a little bit insecure about the decisions that she has made. But now that she's made these decisions and now she's going to have to live with it and everybody is against her, oh, honey, you can make, by your words, Lynette, that ranch is going to go to hell in a handbasket if you don't handle this properly. But love and forgiveness and wisdom is what you got to use. Those are going to be your greatest weapons, which means stop trying to bite your tongue. It's not your business yet. Do you understand? It's not your business yet. It's not your ranch yet. That's the bottom line. And I guarantee you, Grandpa made some big mistakes too. I guarantee you there are things about that ranch that you have no idea about. Not a clue.
Yeah.
And there's things about your parents you don't have a clue about. Just like there's things that your parents don't know anything about you too. You know what I mean? So if you want a solution, and by the way, this is a greed issue. You are absolutely right. It is a greed issue. You know what? Do you know what a sign of greed is? A fear of loss. The fear of loss is a sign of greed. Feeling entitled.
And I see it in all involved.
Yes, and feeling entitled to something that's not yours yet. It's not yours yet. And if you want it to be yours versus her donating it to the local humane society, because you know that happens, Lynette, don't you? You know that.
Well, that is part of the situation too. Is that my friends are seeing the situation that I'm in. I'm struggling. Have put so much of my life into this place, and so many people that are in my situation are already living and working on the ranch. They own so much. A lot of people are in that situation, and my friends keep saying, "You need to talk to an attorney. She needs to be doing this. You need to be doing this." And I, for so many years, have just been stepping back saying, I'm the kid. I'm trying to be respectful to her. Let her make her own decisions.
Exactly.
I've gotten to the point where I am, and but I've gotten to the point where I am concerned about her own well-being and the people that she's allowed into her life.
You're not going to change that, Lynette. When are you going to see that? You are not going to change that. So you said God earlier, which tells me that you somehow believe in him, but I don't think you trust him, and I don't think you trust his word. And I don't think that you trust justice either. So what? She loses it all. So what? Oh, well. Like, what, Dani? What are you talking about? Look how attached you are to this thing. Look how attached you are.
And I go over that.
You need to be done with it.
I do pray to God, and I say, you know, help me to trust. Help me to see. Help me.
No. Trust is a choice. Trust is a choice. Okay. God, I choose to trust you. I choose to trust that you know all things. I choose to trust that you're going to work this out, and that what I'm doing on this ranch is preparing me for something else. It's preparing me for something great. I'm not wasting my time. I'm in your kingdom. So God, I trust who I trust you in my mother. I trust you in those that are directing my mother. And I choose to trust that the outcome is going to be exactly what you would have willed it to be. Be aware of all the naysayers that you're allowing to talk to you. Be aware of those that you're allowing to fan the fire of drama on this deal. You took the right position from the first position, which I'm going to honor my mother. And I'm going to pray, and I'm going to trust that she's making the best possible decision that she can possibly see. Whether or not we agree with it is our own issue. But I'm going to choose to honor my mother, because if I do that, then God will bless me, and he'll bless all of us. So either we trust God and his ability to work things out, or we're going to worry, fret, and fight. Worry, fret, and fight doesn't ever work out great. This is Dani Johnson. Lynette, thank you so much for listening, and thanks for sharing. Thanks for being honest. We're going to continue with more right after this. The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8888 888-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. I'm not greedy, Dani Johnson. I just like to shop to relieve my stress. Whatever way you want to justify your actions, you go right ahead. But at the end of the day, greed will lead you to broke and brokenness and broken relationships. That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, greed is the root of many divorces, broken churches. Man, it's really, really sad what we fight over, what we cling to, and how we prove that we have absolutely no trust at all. We have no trust in the law of reaping and sowing. And if we seem to be clinging to wanting to be right and obsessing over things and fighting over things, then my friend, this is never, ever, ever going to result in your happiness or your satisfaction. I want to read you this quick story from Jennifer Clare. She says, greed caused me, she wrote this to us on Facebook. She said, greed caused me to miss 12 years of my children's lives, caused a divorce, then a bankruptcy, then homelessness, then losing my kids for a season and starting new. It also caused me to recommit to God, find my family again, and find that His grace and love and abundance is way more than I ever thought I could experience. You don't want to lose everything, do you? You don't. And greed is sneaky. And I mean sneaky. It's sneaky in a way and so deceptive in a way that we don't think that we have it, but we are all 2 seconds away from being completely strangled by the power of greed. We really are. So what do you think is actually the opposite of greed? Well, I don't know about you, but I found that when I surrendered, and I just didn't care anymore. In fact, I remember the day that I said, I don't care if I go broke. I don't care if I am the laughing stock of this town. I don't care if I'm the laughing stock of my family. I just don't care. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. You've heard this statement before, that the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money. You see, it's not money itself. Money is a tool. We can build orphanages with it. We can build shelters for kids who've been rescued out of the sex trade. We can build homes for homeless victims of a nasty earthquake and hurricane. We can do some great things with money. But money also, when we love it, and we love the stuff that it buys, we love the power and the thrill that it gives us when we buy, the love of it is greed. And greed will destroy you. It will destroy you. It's the root of all evil. Many people are training up their kids to be greedy and they don't even know it. Yeah. With what? Excessive amounts of toys, excessive amounts of clothes, excessive amount of custom-made food just their way. Excess is a sign of greed. Never being satisfied. One video game is not enough. I need more video games. Greed is the disease of more with no satisfaction. Greed will lead you to a place of being ungrateful. A lack of gratitude is a sign of greed. Depression will be something that comes out of greed because you work so hard, as I did, sacrificing my kids and my health and my marriage, all for money. All for money and the power that money brought into my life at that time. And I didn't even know it. Friend, I got to take a good hard look at my own heart even right now. There are some things that I've done to shield myself from greed, but that doesn't mean that I am immune to it. No. I walked in it for far too many years, and I had some of the biggest financial spankings because of greed. So therefore, I do what I can to try to stay far and away from it. Yeah, and I mean far and away from it, but that doesn't mean that I'm immune to it, because I know that I'm not. It is so easy to get sucked in to the never-satisfying, insatiable desire for more. I don't want to see your family destroyed and hurt the way that mine has been hurt because of greed, both by my husband and by myself. And don't live deceived that thinking because you're a giver that you're immune to this and that you'll never have a problem with it, because that's not the truth. That's actually how it deceives. So one of the things initially was coming to that place of, who is this really all for? Who cares? What's this really all about? When you really just go, take your hands off and surrender. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's not worth it. Is it really worth the money that you're making, all the stress that you've brought into your life because of it, and trying to have to keep up with it? Is it worth all that stress? Nah, it's not worth it. The other thing on top of surrendering is I began to get a passion for helping people who were really in need. And I mean really in need. Like this grandmother that I met recently who, do you remember those tents we used to build in our backyard? Do you remember those? You know, you tie one of those blue or yellow ropes across from one tree to the other, and then you just kind of lay over this tarp, or we laid over a blanket when we were kids and sat out, you know, with a sleeping bag underneath that thing with a flashlight. Do you remember that? Well, imagine a grandmother living sort of like that, but it's not a tarp. It's actually dead banana leaves and branches that she stood up, not like a teepee because they're not tall, but short. And this is her bed. This is what she lives in. Real need. A mom who has a lot of kids and she cannot feed them. This grandma who doesn't have a home or food because the earthquake killed her whole family. The whole family died because of an earthquake. I began to get a passion after I no longer cared about the stuff. I began to get a passion for helping to build homes for people like that grandmother, or like Fida, who has 9 children and no way to feed them. If you want to crush your greed right now, then I encourage you to break the habit of stinginess and break the habit of shopping and wasting and put it over. Send it to your favorite charity. And if you don't know of a good charity to send it to kingsransom.org. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Kadwa Haiti, and you will see what real need looks like and how you simply giving them food would put great joy on their face, or bringing clean water supply to them, great joy on their face. Not a Louis Vuitton bag, not a Mac computer, not a pair of Nike tennis shoes, but simply what? Just food or water. And imagine if you and I could get together and we could build her a home. Imagine all the rest of the grandmas that she would move in with her, because they have none. kingsransom.org. Again, that's kingsransom.org. That's one way to break greed. Is not giving because you'll get recognized, because that's still greed. If you give for the recognition, that's greed. If you give to show that you can give, that's greed. But if you give and you'll never be known for the gift that you gave, now that is not greed. This is Dani Johnson. I thank you so much for joining us today. And if today's show impacted you, please let us know. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another intriguing and exciting topic. Have a great one.
We want to thank you for listening to The Dani Johnson Show. We hope you found inspiration, answers, and hope to renew your happiness in life and learned how to make the most of today and tomorrow. Join us again on the next Dani Johnson Show.
I remember being homeless and broken in every way, and being overloaded with financial pressure, the pressure that I was a failure, the social pressure, everything that I felt like was crashing down on top of me. And at the same time, I felt so alone, until I learned the strategies of first steps to success. You have the chance, my friend, to annihilate all of your debt. Think about that. You have the chance to grow your income through your current career, or even learning to start a brand new business that will be profitable. You also have the chance for learning how to motivate the people that are in your life that are driving you crazy, and how to have significant breakthrough, not only spiritually, but physically, financially, and socially, and business-wise. And so I'm excited to see you at First Steps to Success. It's coming coming up January 17th through the 19th. Get yourself registered today, 888-757-8880. There's a seat with your name on it, friend. 888-757-8880.